Dear brothers and sisters, Jesus was born on the soil of Levant. It is not accidental. It is part of God's plan. Father Nadim tells us that the earthly culture of Christ helps us understand the culture of God. Understanding the Levantine culture helps us understand more about Jesus and what he wants us to learn. Looking through Levantine lens, we can have a new understanding on how Jesus encounters and interacts with the others, those who are totally different from him, and we can witness how God invites people to transform in his love and forgiveness, and enjoy the culture of peace, truth, and freedom. So, Father Nadim, please tell us more about what the Levantine culture is and who the Levantine Jesus is.
Hello, and grace and mercy and peace from God our Father be with you. This is our second video about the culture of God, and we reached the fourth chapter, and the title of this chapter is A Man of His Time, which means Jesus Christ and his time. And we said that in order to understand this amazing person, we need to understand his own culture. And this is very crucial in order to unpack, to discover, to explore the culture of God. And since I come from the same area, the Levant, or the Greater Syria, when I was living there, I didn't know how important that was. And I didn't know that I should have explored more and deeper that culture. I realized the importance of that culture when I left Syria and when I came to Europe, first to Germany and then to the UK. And then I felt, why are the people asking me, Father, when did you become Christian? I was shocked being asked this question, because doesn't everybody know that Jesus was born in the Greater Syria? And then I discovered that no, the people did not know that Jesus was born and lived and embraced the culture of the Greatest Syria. And then I discovered also that Christianity was too westernized. I'm not against the embracing of the culture of today and the culture wherever we are, and interpreting Christianity according to that culture. I'm totally pro that. But before we do that, before, whether we are in Europe, America, Middle East, Hong Kong, we need to understand the culture of the man himself, Jesus Christ. And then we can understand our own culture and see the comparison and the contrasts, and we can see the common ground and how we can interpret the texts and the life of that amazing person. So because of that, because of the surprise I had for years, why are they asking me when I became Christian? And then I understood that there was enormous amount of ignorance about the culture of the Greater Syria. And they thought, well, Bethlehem, Israel, Palestine, maximum, that's it. But actually, the region was much more complex than that. And Jesus living in the Levant and revealing the culture of God in his own earthly culture is very significant. And to be able to dig out those pearls of the culture of God, those glimpses of the culture of God, we need to understand what kind of culture that Jesus lived in. First of all, we need to understand that this culture has 4 elements, if you like, that we need to highlight in order to see the context where Jesus lived. The first element we need to look at is the entertainment, the power of the story, the storytelling. In the Levant, the power of storytelling was incredibly influential in the society. And therefore, and because of that, we see that Jesus used a lot of parables, stories, a lot of gospel narratives we have, especially Luke. We have a lot of stories, and Jesus was presented as an educator using the storytelling method in order to reach out to his audience and send them messages. I always give an metaphor that a story is like a boat. You put on that boat whatever messages you want, and you build the boat and you send it, you let it sail to the harbor of the hearts of the people in front of you. And when the boat comes and finds the harbor in my heart, and I receive the boat, then I can take the goods on it, the messages. And Jesus exactly did that. He built boats, the stories, and loaded them with messages and ideas, and send them to his people, to his audience. And he taught them so much with stories. And look around you. Everything is based on storytelling. Films, news, sermons, everything around us is based on storytelling. And before TV and radio, people in the Middle East, in the Near East, used to depend on the storytelling, storytellers. A storyteller would come with traditional clothes and big book with stories in it, and he would sit on a stage in a cafe, and people come from all over the region or the area to listen to him. And he would sit and open the book in a very dramatic way, and he would tell the people stories that they know by heart, but still there was this joy, this excitement to hear. Sometimes stories had poetry, sometimes they had sayings, and the people would recite the poetry with the storyteller. It didn't have to be a brand new story, but the people still wanted to hear the story and the excitement of the story and the message of the story. The storyteller was also a counselor who sensed the needs of the people and chose the stories that were suitable for the period of time or the circumstances of the people. And that power Jesus used to send his messages and to reveal the culture of God. And the second element is we need to understand the religious system in his time, especially the influence of the Pharisees. The Pharisees were a group not only religious, but also political. They were very influential. They were the interpreters of the law. And Jesus was not very friendly with them. He clashed with them a lot. The Pharisees and the Sadducees and the scribes, they were part of the bigger council called the Sanhedrin, which formed the religious institution at that time. And the Pharisees were very suspicious of Jesus because he shook their authority, and they were not happy about that. And because of that, the clash happened often according to the narratives of the gospel. And we see that this clash was sometimes severe, and he challenged them. And because of that, they collaborated with the Romans, and they decided to kill him early on. My friends, nobody would kill a nice man. Just if Jesus was just a nice person, came to say to the people, love each other and be nice to each other, nobody would have cared. But because Jesus challenged their authority, challenged the way they controlled the lives of the people, they didn't like it. They were thinking their authority cannot be challenged. And because of that, they planned to get rid of him in order to keep their control over the lives of the people. The religious institution can be very dangerous as much as it can be a huge blessing to the people. Clergy can be influential. This has an influence, but sometimes it can go wrong. And when it goes wrong, it goes very wrong. And we become, in a way, an obstacle in the lives of the people. And that's what the Pharisees were at that time, because they interpreted the law in order to keep their power and control over the people. And the third element of the story the story of Jesus and the context of Jesus is the people who were marginalized, the tax collectors, the poor people, the people who were sick, they were untouchables, and Jesus engaged with them, and he loved to be with them and to heal them, to also to challenge them, to tell them stories, to teach them, to be with them. And he was often criticized for doing so. And it's very important for us to know that group of the society, because there was a lot of engagement with that group over against the engagement with the Pharisees. And finally, I want to, the fourth element of the culture of Jesus Christ is what kind of people were the Levantine people? What are the characteristics of the people? First of all, we need to understand that the people, the characteristics of the people were passionate. Passion is part of the makeup of the people in the Levant. We are passionate by nature, which means in the West they say it's a gut feeling. Gut feeling. It's below the stomach. And passion could be hugely a blessing, and it gives flavor of life, and it gives life a taste, a different taste, which we love in the Levant. But also passion can be dangerous, because passion can cloud the mind also. It's amazing and wonderful to be passionate about something, but at the same time, it's too much passion would affect the judgment of the mind and the judgment of the situation. And because of that, we need to balance the passion and the intellect. The second characteristic that I want to highlight for the Levant people: hospitality and generosity. Hospitality is in the heart of the life of the people in the Levant or the Greater Syria. Well, I remember there was no summer, for example, in our home. No summer passed in my childhood up until I left when I was 17 to study in Beirut. I do not remember a single year when our home was not always full. Guests all the time, offering hospitality all the time. People came from friends or family or relatives, came from other cities in Syria, and they stayed with us. We had a big home, and we are also a big family, 6 children. So I lived in a home, in a family with a great heritage of hospitality. And because we lived by the sea, so people were in a way attracted to come to us in order to go and swim in the sea and enjoy the seaside. Hospitality for people in the Greater Syria is incredibly important, incredibly crucial in building relationships. And the third characteristic is relationships, because in the Greater Syria, we value relationships, and we have different understanding of time from the West. Maybe we have this reputation in the West that people come from the Middle East or the Near East, that they have no value of time. Actually, this is not very correct. This is not accurate. We value time, but we value time invested in relationship, not in the sense of watch time, clock, hours, not in this way. Maybe we have the reputation that we are not very punctual in our lives, but we understand time as a relationship, because relationships in the Levant are extremely important, because people invest time, invest of their hearts and lives to build relationships. Because of that, for example, the family is very important, very, very important. Even the extended family, this is the safety net for everyone. We invest in friendships. If you look at how Jesus invested in his friends, the 12, and how much time he spent with them, how much time he taught them, how much time he spent to build the connection with them, we can appreciate that people in the Levant have this passion for their relationship. And also, those relationships inform and transform lives. And we see the relationship between Jesus and his team, his inner circle. He transformed their lives, exactly like the power of the story, which transforms and provoke change in lives, so that we build relationships that last, and also that invoke changes in the society. And finally, one of the important characteristics that we can see in the lives of the people of the Levant is their use of language. In what way? We use language in such a rich way, whether Syriac, which Jesus spoke at his time. He didn't speak Latin or Greek or Hebrew. No, he spoke in the street Syriac, and also which is a Semitic language, like Arabic, like Hebrew. And this use of language was crucial, was essential in that connection between Jesus and his inner circle, plus Jesus and the community around him. We, for example, exaggerate. When we speak, we exaggerate in order to make a point. We don't take each other by the word, although when it comes to the bond, the word is very important, because in Syria, if you give your word is a contract. You don't need to sign a contract. That used to be the case. Because of that, it's very important that to understand, although your word is your contract, your word is very important when you give your word in Syria, but also when we speak socially, we exaggerate in order to make a point. And Jesus made some exaggerations, and Jesus used a lot of metaphors, imagery. He used language in the fullness of its power, in order to teach, in order to communicate with people, because language is a very important tool of communication. Because through language, Jesus, we go back to the importance of the language, of the stories. So he through language, he engaged with the enemies of the Jews, which were the Samaritans. And he engaged with the Gentiles, like he engaged with the centurion, the Roman centurion. He engaged with the marginalized. At the same time, he used language to engage with Nicodemus, the Pharisee. And he used language to engage with the whole religious institution. So it's very important to understand those elements, to have an insight to the culture and to the community that Jesus lived. So we need to understand the importance of the storytelling. We need to understand the importance of the religious institution. We need to understand the importance of the marginalized, and within the marginalized, we have the sinners, the prostitutes, the tax collectors, and all that Jesus engaged with dramatically and directly. And we will see in later chapters some of those magnificent encounters with amazing people of faith, and how they reacted, and how the community reacted, and how the leaders reacted. And also it's important to see the characteristics of the people of the Levant in order to see what kind of community surrounded Jesus, what kind of people that Jesus lived in. They were passionate. They put a lot of emphasis on the relationships between each other. Even their trade was based on relationships. When they ask about, for example, Father Nadim Nassar in Latakia, the first thing they say, who is his father? Here in the West or in London, they say, what school did he go to? No. In Syria, they say, who is your father? He's the son of whom? And then they can make the connection. So I hope I've given you an overall, an umbrella about this chapter, which prepares us to engage with the culture of God and how Jesus revealed the heart of the Trinity, the passion of the Trinity, the mind of the Trinity in his own culture and community.
Father Nadim, thank you for sharing with us the Levantine culture. Since you are our good friend, you visit Hong Kong often, and I think you can answer the following question. What do you think of Hong Kong culture? Could you find something in common with the Levantine culture so that it can help us to know more about Jesus and the culture of God? On the contrary, what is the barrier in our culture that blocks us to participate in the culture of God?
Thank you, Dean Samson, for the question, and thank you for considering me a friend for the churches and the people of Hong Kong. I feel exactly the same. My many trips to Hong Kong made the people of Hong Kong and the culture of Hong Kong very close to my heart. And you asked what are the similarities and the differences between the Levantian culture and the Hong Kong culture. Actually, I want to highlight a very important thing. I said in the first video that we have three cultures to know or to explore. The first culture is the culture of the text, the culture of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Levantian culture, to see what kind of culture that Jesus revealed, the culture of God, revealed his teachings in, which is very important in order to understand the teachings of Christ. And the second culture is our own culture today. And therefore, it is very important for the people of Hong Kong to understand also not only the culture of the text, but the culture that Hong Kong has now. The people of Hong Kong need to understand the culture of the Levantian people in the time of Christ, and in what culture that Jesus revealed the culture of God and revealed his teachings and the depth of his message and mission and ministry, and then understand, for the people to understand their own culture and bring the two together in order to make it relevant to the culture today. And I think the culture of Hong Kong has, of course, some similarities with the culture of the Levantian people at that time and this time and today. For example, I experienced a lot of a wealth of history, philosophy, art, rooted in that culture. And the Chinese culture is worldwide, is one of the richest cultures in the world. And I think this is also very important to explore in order to see the relevance of the culture of God in our lives today in Hong Kong. And also some characteristics of the people of Hong Kong, like generosity, hospitality, kindness, passion in the Chinese way, not the Levantine way, but the Chinese way. The Chinese people are passionate about their tradition, passionate about God, passionate about relationships. Also, this is very, very Levantian. Another thing also I felt that you give a lot of attention and you invest a lot of time and effort in your relationships. And this is very much Levantian. We are not, in a way, punctual in the sense of time, clock time, but we are passionate about investing time and effort to develop relationships. On the sociological level, that is important in the Levant, and I felt it's very important in Hong Kong. Because of that, I have dear friends like yourself and a lot of my brothers and sisters, clergy and people in the churches and in the society of Hong Kong. When I go there, you make me feel home. You make me feel welcome. This is very Levantian, actually. You are warm. You are hospitable. You are generous. And this is amazing because this gives a lot of access to the culture of God, because the passion of God, the culture of the Trinity is hospitality, is generosity, is love. The essence of God is love. God is love, and who abides in love abides in God, and God abides in them. So all this gives the people of Hong Kong the ability to understand what I'm talking about and to understand the depth of the culture of God. And another very important issue is peace. The culture of God is the culture of peace in the Trinity. So non-violence. We try to solve our problems away from killing and destroying and hurting each other. This has to be the culture of God in the church, in the churches of Hong Kong. That is a wealth of common ground that the culture of Hong Kong and the culture of the Levantian people have, and also the culture of God. So as you see, there is a lot to explore, there is a lot to learn, and there is a lot to apply and make sense of, and especially when it comes to the applications of the culture of God.